You ever stop and think about what's really behind this AI explosion we're living through? I mean, from the chatbots that feel like they actually get you to these insane AI-generated images, there's often one single engine driving it all. And that's what we're diving into today, PyTorch. This is the story of how an open source project became the absolute backbone of modern AI.
And look, this isn't just hype. I want you to see this quote. OpenAI, DeepMind, Meta, NVIDIA, these are the heavyweights, the giants pushing the boundaries of what's possible. And they've all rallied around PyTorch. This is not some niche tool for academics. It's the industry standard for building the most cutting-edge AI on the entire planet.
So what is it exactly? Well, at its heart, PyTorch is a machine learning framework that it just feels like Python. And that's the whole point. It was built from the ground up for flexibility and speed, so researchers and developers could build these complex neural networks without needing to learn a totally new, rigid way of thinking. It's the bridge that lets you take a wild idea from the lab and turn it into a high-performance product. But why? Why did PyTorch become so dominant? The answer, it turns out, is in its core design. It was a complete game changer compared to what came before, and it all boils down to its Python-first philosophy. The secret sauce here is something called a dynamic computation graph. Now, I know that sounds super technical, but the idea is actually pretty simple. See, older frameworks forced you to map out the entire plan for your AI model before you could even run it, like a fixed blueprint. PyTorch threw that out. It builds the plan on the fly, step by step, as your code is actually running. It's a define-by-run approach, and it changed everything. And you can really see the difference right here. On the left, with PyTorch, the code looks like normal Python. It's direct, it's intuitive, you can use standard if statements and loops, things every Python programmer knows. Now look at the right. That represents the old way. It's much more rigid. You have to define everything up front with special placeholders and then launch it in a session. The dynamic way isn't just easier to write, it's a lifesaver when it comes to debugging. Here's a really simple way to think about it. The old, static way is like writing out a super detailed recipe from start to finish before you even open the fridge. Once you start cooking, you can't change a thing. PyTorch is like being a chef. You taste the sauce, you think, needs a little more salt. You add it, you taste again. It's interactive, it's flexible, and it just lets you be more creative. Okay, so that's the why. It's flexible, it's Pythonic, it's intuitive, but how hard is it to actually use? Let's switch from the theory to the practice. You might be surprised at just how easy it is to get your hands dirty and build something real. For a lot of projects, this is literally it. The core of training a model to recognize images breaks down into these 5 basic steps. You get your data, you design your model, you tell it how to learn from its mistakes, and then you let it train and see how well it did. It's a really logical flow that takes a lot of the mystery out of the process. And you can take that same 5-step pattern and apply it to so many cool projects, even if you're just starting out. I mean, look at this. In just a few hours, you could build a model that classifies images or one that can read handwritten numbers. The barrier to entry to doing really interesting stuff in AI is just lower than it has ever been. So PyTorch is flexible, it's intuitive, it's easy to get started with. Sounds pretty perfect, right? Well, there was one huge problem. The AI models that are actually changing the world today, they aren't small beginner projects. They are absolutely enormous. And this is where PyTorch faced its biggest test. We're talking about numbers on this kind of scale. The most powerful AI models have over 1 trillion parameters. You can think of a parameter as a tiny little knob that the AI can tune as it learns. 1 trillion knobs. I mean, that's just an astronomical number to get your head around. And that leads to a massive fundamental problem. No single computer on Earth, no matter how powerful, has enough memory to even hold a model that large. So if you can't even fit it on one machine, how on earth do you train it? The answer wasn't to try and build one gigantic computer. The answer was to use lots of them, all working together in a super efficient way. And PyTorch built the exact tools needed to do this, basically putting the whole framework on steroids to unlock a totally new level of scale. The key technique is called distributed data parallel, or DDP, and the concept is actually really elegant. You just make a full copy of your AI model and put it on a whole bunch of different GPUs. Each copy then gets its own little slice of the data to work on. And as they learn, they all talk to each other to share their progress, making sure all the copies of the model stay perfectly in sync. But just keeping everything in sync isn't good enough. You have to do it fast, or what's the point? So DDP has some really brilliant tricks up its sleeve.
It bundles up lots of tiny updates into bigger, more efficient packages. It cleverly starts sending results from one step while the next step is already being calculated. And if a part of the model wasn't even used, it's smart enough to just skip updating it altogether to save time. Now, these charts really show the secret to all that speed. Take a look at the one on the left. You can see that as you bundle those updates into bigger chunks, that's the gradient bucketing we talked about, the time it takes to communicate just drops like a rock. That's a huge win. But the real magic is on the right. DDP is so clever that it can overlap the communication time, that's the red area, with the time the computer is actually doing calculations, the gray area. It essentially hides the waiting time, which means the whole process is way faster and those expensive GPUs are always busy working. So let's just pull all of this together and look at the big picture. PyTorch started out as this super flexible tool for researchers to play with ideas, but then it evolved to solve this massive problem of scale, which is what allowed it to leap out of the lab and start powering the AI in our actual lives. So when you step back, it's really no surprise why PyTorch dominates. First, it won over developers by being flexible and feeling just like Python. Then, it tackled the biggest challenge holding AI back, scale, making it possible to train these gigantic models. And it's not working alone. There's this huge ecosystem of other tools and libraries built around it. It's that combination of being easy to use, incredibly powerful, and having a strong community that makes it the undisputed standard today.
So PyTorch solved the massive challenge of making AI development both flexible and scalable. But we all know these models are just going to keep getting bigger and more complex at a dizzying pace. And that leaves us with a really fascinating question. What's the next big problem that our tools need to solve? What comes after PyTorch?